Good morning, and
Good
today
morning,
we
ma'am.
will discuss about the psychological aspects of this topic we have been discussing. The first thing which is at the root of this problem, at all if you want to call it a problem, the first thing which is at the root is that we need to understand the need for relationship. Why does a person need to be in a relationship? That is the cause of problem for most of us. And once we understand that, we will understand lot of problems associated with it. So the first need for relationship, you see, any kind of emotion, human emotion, it could be love, it could be hatred, it could be anger, it could be jealousy, is caused because of the perception of the other or perception of two people. That causes this, and that is why in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad it is said, Dvitiyat vai bhayam bhavati. It is because of the duality that there is fear. Because of duality, duality causes fear. Dvitiyat vai bhayam bhavati. Duality causes fear. So we have to now understand whether it is possible for a person to be single, or single in the sense not only in the marital sense, but to be independent, not dependent on any other person. Is it at all possible? So let us start our discussion today with this point. How feasible, or how possible, how much possible is it, or is it even remotely possible for a person to be alone in all the senses of the term? Because we say man is a social animal. Can a human being be not dependent, particularly emotionally, on another person? We have to depend on many people, but not emotionally or psychologically dependent on other person. Is it possible? Byomkesh.
Uh, at this point of time, I think not possible. Like because I am so much attached to uh, some person, maybe my mother, maybe my wife. But I don't know will it be possible because it will be my ongoing process when I will try to practice. So I do not have like neither experience not any imagination as of now.
Yeah, I think most of us at different points of time uh, need the some kind of emotional support from some source. So that is true for most of the people until and unless we train ourselves to lead a life where we can handle our emotional swings and we do not look out for an external support. So but in general, like most people do need an external emotional support. That is what I feel.
Yeah, I agree that I think since childhood we are sort of conditioned and raised to have emotional bonds, and we even need them because otherwise our parents would just abandon us if there was no emotional bond. They have no other reason that much that is obvious for raising kids. So I think it is important, and I think later on when we are adults, it's important to have the emotional bonds, but maybe not be dependent. So it would be nice if it wouldn't be dependent, but of course all of us have our own issues and characters and personality, and some people are just they have more fear or more insecurity, so they feel very emotionally attached very easily to other people. They need their acceptance, and and I think it's a lot to work through. First you need to realize, then you need to get some tools to actually work through the years of emotional attachment and emotional issues that you have. And then yes, of course I think it's wonderful. It's part of being free if you can be somehow emotionally independent, which doesn't mean that you're careless. You still have compassion for all the human beings, but you're just not emotionally dependent. But I think that's very few people who can reach that state.
So there is a state where, or there could be a state where someone is having an emotional connection with someone but not dependent on that person.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's true. I think, like in our families, we often observe that. There are old parents. So when the parents grow old, so now it's not necessary that we are emotionally dependent on them, but that bonding or that care, that concern is there, and we are concerned about their health, their well-being, but not necessarily emotionally dependent. So it's all at this point of time. It may be a good idea to state it very clearly. What do we mean by emotional dependence? So when it starts to affect me, the person in some negative way, is that what we are referring to as emotional dependence?
Not only negative, if at all it affects the other person, it could be positively or it could be negatively also. So if you are in any way affected, but dependence means here that if you cannot do without the other person, you always need somebody else in your life. That is negative dependence, yes.
So that is where. So I think this example of this old parents is perfectly valid in this context, because probably we can live without their being with us or near us, but at the same time, like, we are concerned about their well-being. So that is, I think, that is valid for most of the people that we see around us. So it is possible that we are not emotionally dependent, but at the same time emotionally bonded or connected.
You're not dependent. You see that with so many people, really.
No, in this particular context, I am saying. So, with reference to old parents and all. So, but of course, means they have their emotional dependence maybe towards some other person. The people, those who are making more impact in their life, maybe their wife, their children. But as people grow old, maybe when they are young, they have more emotional dependence towards their parents, as opposed to they are young and they find themselves more capable to lead their life independently. So that time, without the support of their parents, so that time, that emotional this thing is the concern is there for the parents, but not necessarily it is a dependence.
I think we have dependence that we maybe don't even realize or are not aware of towards the society, even strangers, because emotionally, you are sort of dependent even emotionally on the strangers that you encounter in your day. If somebody is having a really bad day and he's going to be mean to you, you're somehow going to be probably emotionally affected, and unless you're completely detached from that, then you don't take it personally. But most of us, I think, do take it personally. So whatever, even if you see something sometimes on the TV, we are somehow, even in that area, we are somehow emotionally affected, because in the television they keep telling you, oh, you have to look this way and you have to drink this. You're sort of to want, by fear, I guess, wanting to be accepted, you sort of feel like you should be doing that. So I mean, and it gets even more complicated when it comes to intimate relationships. Then it's really like the jealousy and the possessiveness and the anger, and I think there's so many things that will show you that even if you feel that you are just loving that person and maybe not emotionally dependent, if you dig a little bit deeper, then you see that indeed you are emotionally dependent on whoever you are in a relationship with, be it a friend or an intimate partner or your parents.
So though you may like to believe that you are not emotionally dependent, it is not true. How do you know that if some person scolds you or doesn't even talk to you or even doesn't call you maybe one day? There are situations when you feel very bad, you feel dejected when somebody doesn't call you, even maybe one day or maybe one part of a day. So though we may like to believe that no, we are above all that, but in reality, in truth, do we actually become independent? That is the question.
Maharaj, that this thing I have faced when the person is not calling us and something avoiding, it hurts. And moreover, our whole, so I feel कि 70 to 80% हमारा mind part पूरा वही कुछ भी activities कर रहे थे, but our mind is not there. Concentration was like कि why that person is not calling and why he's avoiding, what kind of things are going on, kind of situation comes.
So here, how does a man see this relationship, and how does a woman see the relationship? So how does a man see the relationship?
Oh, very difficult question. Because I never think of on that perspective how man and woman think of a relationship.
So as I said, so most of us probably like to have an emotional support or some source of emotional inspiration to raise our moods when we are dejected and disappointed and frustrated. So, but yeah, so that source means we often like to have it externally until and unless we find that source is some ideal or some principle and within ourselves. So it is true that most of us would love to have that support outside in some person, whether it is a spouse or children or parents or some kind of relationship that drives us, so that motivates us. And when that support is not there, then often we feel very dejected and lonely, and we feel that nobody is there to care about us. Nobody is concerned about whether I live or die, and that is why many people with go into depression, often commit suicide. So all these issues are there. So means I don't know from man's perspective or women's perspective. So, but in general, I think that it's true for human being that they look out for emotional support.
Yeah, definitely.
Maharaj, I have one question. Maharaj, I just want to know whether I have seen at girls' part whenever they are be indulged in the relationship and they are being in relationship, they most of the time discussing about their love partner and the kind of, and mostly they are discussing about that only. But I want to know whether this is with the male also they are having in their discussion they discuss about their love life, because this thing even in the college and even in the after marriage also women always talks about their husband, their family and that things. But I feel as a for males they are very practical, and when wherever they are they focus that area, whether they are in work, whether they are in kind of friend circle, enjoy party. So I feel they don't mix it. I just want the clarity whether they also mix it or No.
Vandana, hi, this is Papia. So actually, I think it's my opinion, and I actually sit for lunch and for work with lots of people, including men and women both. And in general, what I've seen is like all ladies, we talk about our personal lives far, in a more informal way than a guy would, talk about those. So I don't think it's because they are practical. It's because most of the guys are a bit reserved about their personal life, and if this is something they only open with a very handful of their very close friends. But in case of girls, it's kind of we share the information, we get an mental support from others also. So that's the way that I have felt.
But their concentration power is more, the boys' power concentration is more than girls, because they are be not concentrating on work, they are be concentrating still while doing work, their mind is on in her family or in her love life.
No,
So
actually, Vandana, that also depends. So, see, I have actually, there was a time when I was sitting with all the boys, for lunchtime, and that time there was people who were, 40 or 45 years old, and one day he came from his home, and during lunchtime, he was saying that today, I am very upset. I just had a kind of fight with my wife in the morning time. But that's it. He did not go into all the discussions around it, what happened, why happened, and all these things. So I've seen that people get upset. Even the guys also do get upset. The only thing is they don't, they don't show it to others most of the time.
Well, I think for the men and for the women, as I always point out, I think they're completely different. Just because even biologically, physically, they're so different. And I've listened to some videos from university, from the Yale University by Dr. Bloom, and he was discussing how there was these studies they did on campus, and they've asked different questions, and they saw how the men react and the women they react, and the men were much more likely to just want to have relationships, even if it was just a date on the same day, and go home with that girl on the same night, which they just met. Basically, it was a complete stranger that approached them on campus. So, he said that they are not as invested biologically, even emotionally, into children, into raising a family. So from the get-go, they are looking for something else. And of course, there are some that are maybe very devoted to their families and be doing all the right things, but still emotionally they will not be maybe as invested as the women are, because women just need to invest a lot more into the children, into raising the children than the men do. So even just on that part. So I think emotionally also, when it comes even to conversations, from what I've seen, their conversations are very short. So even though they will always be interested, and let's say somebody's dating a new girl, the guys are going to ask him, a very straightforward question, when it comes like how far did they get in the relationship, and they don't mean emotionally. So it is only just about basically physical intimacy. How far did he get? And it's not going to go, they're going to make a few jokes and move on to cars or work or something else. No, that's typically the kind of conversations they have here in North America. And it's not, not everybody, of course, but a lot of the conversations that I think that the men have, they don't go as deeply as the women do, and they don't go over each detail as profoundly and for the length of time that the women are capable of doing so. I think that's just my observations.
For children, but I would say if man and woman both are same. Like everyone, I saw men also. They are always talking about something for their children and kid. That kid was doing that. Kid was doing that. He taking him. He wants to play him, or she wants to play him with the parents. Those things I think common. Other than yeah, there are some differences.
And also, I think a man in a different culture, say in India, behaves differently. There are situations where the responses or the interactions are same, but generally there are also a lot of differences. It is varied in different parts of India also. Maybe
Yes.
in some parts of India it is like that, In some other parts, it is not like that. But it is true that generally, predominantly, women tend to talk about these things more than men. I think that we can agree.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
What do you think a woman looks for in a relationship? Because if the need for relationship has to be understood, then we have to understand what a woman needs from a relationship. We have to understand that.
I guess actually, Maharaj, this also depends on the condition. Like if the woman is not, the lady is not working self by herself, then she will look. See, there are some common things. One is love, one is care, understanding. Those things will be there for sure. Other than that, there will be financial stability is also one thing that people look for. Uh, Financial stability of the other person, and but that again might vary depending on if the lady is herself is working or independent, self-sustained. Then maybe that is not the first and priority. But yes, I think it's mainly understanding, caring, or at least for the first time when somebody met somebody, then caring and having good courtesy, all those things matter. But then with time, it changes. It changes the uh, respect for each other, understanding between each other, uh, caring, all those things come.
I really don't understand. Even I'm in psychology also. I didn't get ki why the women are like they behave like this. Rather than they talk about the worldly life, their world remains till their home and till their family members or till their husband. Why the women are like this? Why they always discussing about this thing? As if I say mans are they are living, we are also live in world, but they face daily things, daily situations, even at every place. Even if I go to pay bills, my brother will say, "Ki no, no need to you need not to go because their crowd is not good. They like this and that everything." So they always put us in. They give us the protection, and many of the places they not allow us. So I think due to this thing also that women remain in their house only. That's why they're discussing more about the things or the some other reason.
Good debate, I think.
Yeah, actually,
It varies to place to place.
yeah, what I think is it actually depends on people's nature also. And one thing that I would put all my blame is on upbringing also. So in India, at least, I don't know about other countries. When we when a girl is born, people start putting money away for their marriages before their education most of the time. But this is not the case in case of a baby boy is born. When a baby boy is born, people think, okay, I have to get him a good job, put him into a good profession, like those. So it's also starts from that point of view. In our society, we always feel, and it's now also it's like that only, that if a family goes fine, it's because of the women of the family. And if the family goes uh, a bit kind of dysfunctional, that is also because of the women of the family. And maybe it's sometimes right also, I don't say that. But then it's we are during our upbringing and during our childhood, we always get to know, okay, you have to go to your you have to go away from your parents, you have to stay with your in-laws, your husband, that will be your home, this will not be your home, and all those things. So it's, I think, very less parents actually put very much emphasis on education only. When I say only, it means I have seen lots of girls actually who are studying in engineering, and actually two of them has actually told that their parents wanted them to study engineering because they will get an engineer groom. That's the main reason behind studying engineering. So it's like that. Even if they are doing their education, it's not because so that they become independent. It's so that they get a settled life, they get a settled guy, like that. So until unless we change that thinking, then in this process, even the girl who is maybe working, but I have seen that most of the ladies who work, they are also not very concentrated, not very much concentrated on their career. It's like kind of a earning thing. There is no passion or there is no care about it, or any kind of process of improvement or something. It's not there. It's mainly a kind of second earning. That's it for the girl. But for the guy in a family, it's kind of his everything, his career. So that happens because I think my society is like that only. That's what actually. And yeah, now it is changing, but it's changing very slowly. So from there it comes. From there it comes that first my family. First I have to look into my family, and all my priorities will revolve around my family, my husband, my kids, and everything. For guys, it's not that compulsory, and even our society also like that. If a guy always talk about a kid or his mother-in-law or his wife, not very people will be pleased, right? But for a lady to talk in a social interaction, those are the things that comes. And trust me, I have been into lots of interaction where I feel awkward because I cannot talk about those. I may talk about some technology thing or something that is going on in my office, but then talking about like you know your in-laws or your husband or your kids, it's not my cup of tea. So I felt socially awkward because that is the norm for ladies.
In India, of course, women are treated that way and they are solely dependent. They are made to appear dependent on men. And how is the situation in Canada? And Papia was saying that because it is how society looks upon a woman, and that is why women always like to talk about kids and in-laws or husband. And in Canada, how is it? And if it is different, don't women there talk about their families or husband and kids?
I think on some levels, from my experience, there is also a lot of that peer pressure, society pressure to get into a relationship. And then we have also conscious reasons and unconscious reasons. All those unconscious reasons, the hurts of, you didn't get enough love from your parents. There's also the financial fear. It's always better to be in a couple because, of course, there's two to split the cost of living. Some people also, like some teenagers, just had they find that they've experienced a rough childhood with their parents, so they're looking for a way out, and the easiest way out is to try to find that love that they didn't find at home with somebody else. Yes, I think a lot of women do discuss, I guess, their family and their friends and their relationship issues, because there is a lot of relationship issues, and it can get very serious. There's a lot of divorce, and there's a lot of children also who are having problems now with autism, with attention deficit. Almost everybody's, medicated. So there's definitely a lot of discussions on those topics too, for some kind of everybody's trying to find some kind of understanding and some kind of help and reassurance when it comes to basically everyday life and especially relationships.
What does a man look for in a relationship generally?
Care, concern, trust. I think in case of boys, at least they for a majority part of their life they are in they look up to their mothers, and after they turn adolescent, and when they are kind of little grown up, they try to look out for people, girls, those who are having similar kind of traits. So probably those who can look after them, or they can share common interests, and whenever they are like down and out, they can find a lap to hold on to. So that is what I think in general boys look out for. But yeah, means it depends from case to case. Maybe there are people those who are looking for other things as well, probably like the salary and other things, means the whether she is working or how she has been brought up or her family, and those things are maybe they also come into the picture at some point of time. But I think predominantly it is the love and the affection and the care, the concern, the trust. These are, I think, more valuable other parameters.
I think like most of the boys who's looking for the mother care, the the way he get the care from mother for most of the relationship, but it is actually unfortunate. It is not impossible to get such caring like a mother. Okay, so there should be some compensation. Like he should agree some compensation in that area. Apart from that, I would say um, loving, caring, not caring, loving, support, and motivation. That is looking most of the boys looking. I don't think other thing will get most effective on it. So most important for most of the boys, I think, looking for the motivation and support.
You mean motivation from the spouse or the partner?
Spouse. I mean to say spouse. And yeah, definitely.
What kind of motivation?
What kind of motivation?
Motivation means there in daily life, there are lots of ups and downs in the life in life for every man. So in that situation, they'll take the motivation from uh, his partner or wife, spouse, and the support.
Okay.
I mean that's not like that's I think that's something I was looking for.
Okay, so
Something
you
that
think,
drives them. Something that drives them. You can say.
oh, so you think that is what, yeah, you were looking for, and you think that that is what most of the people look for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So what do you say, Subhadeep? I am not sure about this, whether actually men look for motivation from their partners. In fact, I'm not only not sure, I'm doubtful about that. Yes.
Yeah, it's the way we take it. So, as Bonkesh was telling, that when we are emotionally down, so that times probably we need a hand or some kind words that can raise our motivation. Maybe we are not doing well academically or in professional life. We are not. Doing, our health is not okay, or there may be so many other things that are not working out well in the life. So up to a point, it is the parents those who like guide us, motivate us, encourage us. Nothing doesn't matter, you can still work hard, things will improve, these kind of things. But after a point when we know that yeah, parents are getting old, and means it is a normal custom to get married and all, so probably we look out for a partner who can encourage us, motivate us, and love us, care for us, have concern for us. That way, I think that motivation thing does work. But there may be other. It depends from person to person what he's looking out for. If the person is really very strong and emotionally very strong, then he may not be looking out for these things. So it depends on the mental state of the person. So if the person is more emotionally more dependent, so it all coming back to where we started from, emotional dependence. If the person is emotionally weak, then only he looks out for external sources and if he is very strong, then probably he wants to take care of the other person, and that selflessly, without bothering much whether the spouse takes as much care as he does or not. So, and just because his Swadharma is to raise a family, and he gets into a family life and all. So then his expectations and in the relationship are quite different. But in general, means people are not very strong, and they are kind of they look out. They are emotionally dependent. So given that this premise holds for most of the people, then they look out for these traits that the spouse should help him whenever he requires her association, her company. So that is true. And as the Papia was also telling, the welfare of the family means, at least in India, means the women are kind of considered the mostly responsible, whether the good or the bad, whatever happens in the family. So, in order to have a good family, good kids, people look out for, means a good bride. That is
Now here we have two men, Shubhadeep and Vyomkesh, and three women, Papia, Anna and Vandana. I have a question to ask. In a relationship, when it is men, is it true that men bother about only what they get in a relationship, and women are more concerned about what they can give to that relationship? Now, two men and three women, you can debate on this. Let there be sound and fury.
Well, for me, it's very shocking almost to hear, that everybody's looking for like support and almost they're basically saying that they're trying to find, but like a parent instead of a partner. And I think an adult relationship, an intimate adult relationship, should be about being adults. So we should not be. We should be strong enough to be able to give and to grow that relationship and to be able to learn together. So I think, if you need support, emotional support, then maybe you should get psychologists. If you need somebody to cook for you, then get a cook. If you need somebody to take care of you, then, get a doctor. Motivation, there's a lot of motivational books and motivational talkers, so somebody can always motivate you. And I understand this is kind of like, it's not as easy to say because we all have our issues. So we all in a way do end up in relationships because of the lacks that we have. But I think it would be wonderful if consciously we would at least have a goal of actually at least giving and growing and learning together, instead of just having a goal when we go into a relationship, when we're getting into a relationship, to have somebody who's going to take care of us and who's going to, because a relationship is so demanding. First of all, you better make sure that you grow strong and you're able to take care of yourself before you get into a relationship. Because if you think that the relationship is going to help you, it's going to bring a lot of challenges actually to your life. So it's not going to make your life easier. It's going to make your life more complicated. And with children, it's going to be even more demanding. So if you're already looking for somebody to take care of you, this is not really right. You had your mother when you were a child, but once you're an adult, you're supposed to take care. You're going to have probably eventually children. Most of the relationships end up in having children, which you're going to have to take care of together. And it's like at least a 20-year project that you're going to be embarking on. And you need to make sure that you're emotionally and psychologically strong and able to give, because that's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to forget about yourself, and you're going to have to be able to sacrifice and give to the other person and give to the relationship and give to the family. So forget about you, and emotional support and motivation. And yes, I see that women are very different than men, at least here in our society. It seems that they are the one who usually take initiative. So there are definitely, but the women expect the men to actually be the rock of the family, the foundation of the family. So if we're both, if both men and women come into this relationship thinking that somebody else is going to take care of them, it's going to be a little bit, of a mess, which it does end up being a mess most of the time, and very challenging and very difficult. So I think we just need to change this thinking that, we're looking for somebody to take care of us, and say like, okay, am I ready to take care of somebody else? Because that person might be young and beautiful when you marry her, and 2 years later she might get sick and not be able to take care of you. Or, like I said, you're going to eventually have children that are going to require a lot of your energy, emotionally, physically, on the financial level. You need to be able to give of yourself and sacrifice.
So women also sometimes look for something in the relationship. It's not that women tend to give more than men.
Yeah, that is, I think, natural, because it is not always right. Like, we only want and we don't want to give. It is a give and take from both of sides, and that's how it can grow. Otherwise, it will be too monotonous, and one day one or another will burst into each of other emotionally. So that is the most of the time we are blaming each other, or we are quarreling with the things. Okay, so so yeah, the give and take, it should be from both sides, and the sacrifice. Yes, everyone must sacrifice for something that is there, and I agree, like with Anna's comment, like everyone should be independent before get married. Very valid point. I agree. Like, nice point.
Maharaj, I agree on both of them for like on some points. Like, yes, there should be this give and take, and if both the people in a relationship is growing, I know that sounds very philosophical and might not be true for most of the relations, but if both are not growing, then that relationship is kind of stagnant. That's why that's what I think. And yeah, if both of them are growing in their relationship and they are happy, that is what is required. And on the main question, that if guys are only to get and ladies are only to give, this was somewhat true, or somewhat, I will not somewhat, it is, I will say, 90% true in case of our previous generations, and then previous to previous generations, like our ancestors. There were those kinds of discriminations were there. Now it's getting better. It's pretty much better, I would say. The only thing is there is some kind of psychological difference between the way a guy thinks or a woman thinks, because I've seen there are several cases where even in my office, if or at home, if my other spouse is not feeling well, I can feel it or I can understand it, but it is not always the other way. So what I felt is, or what I have actually learned is, there is something, we have some kind of, most of the ladies, we have some kind of qualities of sense what is going on. In case of guys, it's something you have to explicitly spell it. That's the only thing that I think. Otherwise, this give and take, I think both are on giving side and both are on taking side. It's not much.
So Shubhadeep, what essentially Papia just now said is that men are less sensitive than women. So many things you have to actually tell men that, look, this is why she is behaving like this. Look, this is why he is behaving like this. So now here it is being told that men are dumber than women. And do you accept that?
No, I did not mean that man are dumb. It's
No,
just
to some extent, less sensitive, less sensible. So Shubhadeep, do you really think that is true, that women can see more than what is apparent? They can understand emotions a bit more deeply than men can?
It's difficult to generalize. I think.
Is that because you are a man?
I don't know. That is means
What you don't know that you're a man?
no, this opinion is coming from the fact that I am a man. That I'm not. I do not know. But of course, reconditioning will have its own bias. So, but I think it's difficult to generalize. Means maybe there are cases when mostly women are known to be more aware or to be more able to read the emotions, but not necessary. Not necessary.
Yes, I think it's a proven fact that men think differently, and that does not mean they're just very different than we are. They're driven by different things. So, of course, they're not going to pay attention to the same things we are paying attention to. So, they have different interests. They're not going to be interested in the same thing that the women are because they're made different. So, there's a book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From
Yeah, I
Venus,
know
and
that. That's a very
it
famous book
explains
by
a little
John
bit.
Gray. And
Yes.
if any one of you has not read that book, please read the book. But you are being very diplomatic, Anna. What I asked is it true that men are less sensitive, or it is difficult for them to understand hidden emotions or hidden feelings than women?
I think they're just completely in a different scale of vibrations. So they cannot connect on the same level as
Okay, I don't
women
know how
can.
is it in Canada, but are you running for the president or prime minister or something? Because that was again a too diplomatic answer. But anyway, Anna concurs or Anna agrees that yes, men can't understand feelings because they have
I
too many other
I
things, too many other things to understand. I don't know what they
I
are.
think I think men cannot understand women and women do not understand men. So women project whatever they think the men are thinking onto the man, and it's again a disaster because they think the man didn't do the dishes because they don't love them. And the man didn't do the dishes because he was watching TV. And he did not see the dishes because he doesn't have the woman's eyes to see the dishes or the laundry that needs to be folded. So
So
he just left the laundry.
that's it, quote unquote, woman's eyes, which means microscopic, more observing eyes. Oh, yeah, I got the answer. Thank you. So,
Well, the men are going to see, the men's eyes are going to see what they are attracted to. So they're going to see things the women's eyes do not see, but the women's eyes see everything.
everything. Wow. No, you should run for the. Is it the president or prime minister who is the topmost in Canada?
Prime Minister.
Yeah, you should run for it. Yeah, you absolutely qualify for that. Yeah. So now, so that's it. It is proven now.
Yeah, at some part I agree that boys are less sensible and like this because firstly I feel the person should be sharing. They are not sharing things they feel like they can do and handle everything, and this things a woman can see in their activities, the behavior and the things like I have seen most of the couples, even my family also, they just like कि क्या बताएं and they just be say कि तुम्हें क्या पता and कितनी चीजें handle करनी होती है ये करना होता है. The women try to understand them, but the men's they feel कि the women are dumb, they cannot understand anything and they cannot be a part or they cannot be a support. So this thing I've at many cases I felt very bad कि why the women get this kind they see with this thing कि the woman cannot do anything and they feel कि just to handle or to do the household work it's the easiest part and to do things they don't get the value for that. This is also the part comes when the misunderstandings and miscommunication. Earlierly they spend time together, but after a children or after be getting involved too much involved in the families, they forget about themselves. They do not take time and they don't go for out to spend time with each other. There is no sharing. Initially there is lot of sharing, but suddenly the kind of things comes and the sharings, all kind of sharings get at lost and there no sharing there. So I feel lot of problems basically stands from that part.
So Anna, is it true for Canada also that in the beginning there is a lot of sharing of popcorns and afterwards there is less sharing of dishes?
No, I think actually the issues of communication, because it's so different, they often start from the beginning. So unfortunately, the women are seeing what is not there very often. So let's say a man, again, he does something or he does not do something, and for the women and all her friends, it already means this huge thing. Like, let's say if the man did not call her or forgot her birthday, it's basically, reason for divorce. And it's very unfortunate that this is the way it happens, because the men are not thinking the way the women are. And this is really like a major issue, because we communicate differently and we think differently. So again, the women suffer so much just because of their own projections. So the husband can come home upset because of what happened at work, and not thank her for the supper, or not notice that she cut her hair, and the woman's going to get completely depressed because she's emotionally dependent on the women, on the men noticing those things. And the man, it's not that he means to be mean, but he just didn't notice because he's still maybe preoccupied with something that happened at work. So and he doesn't have the woman's eye. So of course her best friend is going to notice right away that she colored her hair or she got a new dress or something like that, but the man is not going to notice. But even in TV shows and in society, we're going to be told, oh, this is like terrible and poor you, and how could he do that to you? Victimize the woman right away, and then her heart is broken, and it's just very difficult. We need to learn a little bit more about the differences between the two, psychology and emotionally, before we get into those relationships, because it's just very difficult to figure it out.
For instance, it is, I don't know why, almost impossible for a woman to understand or realize that a man can simply stare at the ceiling thinking nothing. It's something only a man can do. A man can stare at the ceiling at the wall for 2 hours at a stretch, thinking absolutely nothing. Or a man can just say that I don't want to talk, not just because he doesn't love anybody or something, not just because he's upset or something, not just because anything particular happened, but he doesn't want to talk. And these two things, I think, it's very difficult for a woman to understand.
For the talk part, it's something I can understand. Even sometimes I don't like to talk. Yeah, for looking at the ceiling and doing nothing, that is something. Yes, I don't. Maybe I'll not understand, and yeah, neither I.
That's something totally a man thing which happens, and it's perfectly normal. It doesn't mean that the person has no more interest or something like that, but it is perfectly normal.
I spend a lot of time doing nothing. Fortunately, I do not have any relationship, so there's nobody to bother me.
Fortunately, so you consider it already fortunate. Oh, good. So we will continue this discussion. On the 23rd of August. Yes.